This is part 3 of an entity framework course series, and today we'll discuss about a different tables that got generated while running an EF core migration. In the part 2, we have discussed how we can create a DB context file and how we can run a migration against it. So if I again navigate to my data studio, and if I can see in the last session we had created only two tables, which is employee and department. But apart from employee and department, another table got created, and that is called as employee EF migration history. Let's check the content of this folder. So I'll simply write down EF migration history over there and run this statement. And you can see in this history table, I'm having a command name as init database and the product version. Now this command name is similar to the command, the one that got created while running a migration. You can see it both has the same timestamp as well as the file name itself. Entity Framework core internally track the number of executed migration with the help of an EF core migration history table. For example, if I again open my terminal window and if I clear it out and if I again run a migration command .NET EF database update and press enter, you will notice that my entire project will be built succeeded, but it says a message that no new migration were applied. Why? Because my database is already up to date. My migrations are already up to date with the current database instance. And EF code is tracking this thing with the help of a snapshot file as well as this table which named as EF migration history table. So for example, if I want to create another migration, let's say if I again navigate to my employee table itself and I want to create another column inside it, let's say gender. I'll write down public string gender over here with getter and setter. And this time I again open up my terminal window and will write a new migration .NET EF migrations added gender column in employee table. Always make sure that you should give a meaningful name to your migration because that will be help you out to debug the issue in case that occurred at later stage. Once I write this command and when I press enter, you know that it will again start building my code and a new migration file got created. And this migration file still include two methods, up and down. And in the up method, I'm adding a new column named as gender. And in the down method, I'm basically deleting that columns. And now you can see that this time the migration dot got created basically only include a single column. It does not even track the other changes. Like I had a department table, I had an employee table, but somehow Entity Framework core knows that these changes are already updated against the database side, and hence it only generated a migration with a newly added column that is gender. So with the help of snapshot file, it tracks that what exactly is there in database and then it generates a new part of it. And with the help of EF migration history file or EF migration history table in database side, it tracks those migration. Now if I again go to my terminal window and write down .NET EF database update, it will again do the entire same process and it will basically create a new column in my database. So if I go to my employee table again and execute the statement, you will notice that a new column got added, which is gender. And if I again check a migration history table, there will be a new row inside the table itself, and that says added gender column in an employee table. So now it is quite simple to explain that whatever migration that you execute, or to be more precise, whatever migration that you update against database, there will be row inside it, and with the help of that row in the migration history table, Entity Framework code tracks whether the migration has been applied or not on the DP side. If I again go to the same command file and if I again run the same command which says .NET EF database update, you will again notice that it will be same thing, which is no migration were applied, the database is already up to date. Now let's say if I go and delete a row from this file, from this table. So first of all, you should not be modifying anything manually in this class file, which is snapshot, as well as a table, which is migration history. Even you can see it says it's an auto-generated file. So don't even try to modify it, because if you modify this, you will basically make your migration unstable. So I'll go to my database again, and for a demo purpose, let me do one thing. Let me delete a row from this table itself. So delete from EF migration history. Let me copy the table name and delete from EF migration history, where migration ID is equals to, give the last ID. Okay. And once I delete this statement, once I execute this statement, you will see that there is no record in my machine history table. Now, if I again jump back to my rider and if I again open my terminal window by trying to run the same command, you will notice that this time I'll got an error. An error is because now my entity framework migration history says that a gender column is not exist inside my table and it tries to run the same migration. But since I have removed it manually, it will run it. But as my table already exists a gender column, it simply says that column name must be unique. So in this way, you can see that whenever you have an EF core migration history table, it will track the different migrations that you have executed against your database so far. If you delete a row from this table or if you make it a little bit different, if you try to update it, in simple terms, you will leave your migrations unstable. And now, if you have ever happened with the situation, whenever you have this kind of problem, the only thing which you can do is you can again go to your database and try to insert the same statement again. Maybe insert into EF migration history table, give the values as migration ID. So my migration ID is my same ID that I had deleted earlier. Copy this statement again and paste it over here. And the product version is copy the same product version and paste it over here. Okay. So in this way, you can see that I am again trying to make this back into stable stage, but please refrain yourself of doing any manual operation in this table. Once I run this, you can see a row got inserted. And if I again navigate to my rider, and if I again run my command .NET EF database update, it will show me the output that no migration has been applied to your database and it's already up to date. So the main agenda of this session is to explain you the concept of an underscore EF migration history table. Please don't delete or update anything manually from this table itself, because if you do so, you will make your database unstable. This is it for this video. In the next video, we'll check other parts of migrations. Thanks.